Oh, yes, and we're live. Welcome to another episode of the First Division podcast, bringing the best in conversation out there to the listeners. Uh, Today is a special podcast. Usually, I only have podcasts with guests, but today I thought that I would give it a go solo tonight. This episode is unofficially sponsored by the Czech beer Budvar today, and it tastes pretty good. It's a little bit bitter, but for a cold day, for a cold night, I think it's good to have something refreshing. So get settled in, and let's look at some of the hot topics that are kind of uh, in the news lately here in the Czech Republic. Something that's so silly. I want to first start out with the English idiom. I want to read it to you. If you don't know the idiom is if it isn't broken, why fix it? If s- I get the argument that if uh, you want to improve something and change something, if you know that for example, something will be improved. So you put like, so you change it in a way that the end result is going to improve the current system as it is. And I posted earlier on my Facebook account uh, that the train station jingles must stay. And the reason why I posted that is that coming straight from the Prague or Radio Prague International, they broadcast or have they bring news in Czech Republic in English for you, and it's just coming out this year. So today is the 9th. 4 days ago, the Radio Prague International website put out an article that uh, they that there's going to be an end of the iconic Czech railway jingles that are throughout the Czech Republic. That when you, if you've ever taken the train in the Czech Republic, when you arrive to a train station, there will be certain jingles, certain sounds that you always hear. Some are more, uh, some are. Some are specific to that station, some are more generic, and so on. Some some jingles announce when a train will be late. Some announce when the trains are arriving, when the trains are about to depart, and some are just letting you know when you're in that specific railway station. So when you go into, for example, into a train station, you exit the train, you'll hear a certain jingle, and you'll automatically know by the jingle what train station you're in. And the Czech State Railways Administration wants to get rid of all these jingles and try to make a more uniform, simplified, basic kind of jingle across every train station in the Czech Republic. Well, now if you if you're used to these jingles that have been in place for over 25 years and it's working. I mean, you learn uh, what train station you're in, when the trains are departing, when the trains are late, and I think this is going to be a case of uh, not. I kind of understand where they're coming from, where they want to kind of improve the system and make it universal so that there's no confusion. It's more streamlined, it's quicker, it's faster. People want to get in and out of trains, out of train stations, and so on. But I think that if you have a system that's been it's relatively working kind of well. I mean, you know where you are, you know what you're accustomed to what these jingles mean and the context of these jingles, and it's kind of a part of the Czech culture that you know that these jingles mean something. I think that the Czech Railway Administration should really look at it and just keep it. Just keep these jingles. I think that the jingles shouldn't go away. I think it's part of Czech culture. I think it's a great way to kind of distinguish the differences between not only regions but also the different train stations as well, because some of the major train stations have their own jingle, and you kind of get used to it, and it's kind of nice. It brings that charm when you're traveling across the Czech Republic and getting the different uh, the different parts of the country, and you're learning these different songs and these different little jingles, and I think it's a great thing. I mean, going back to it, I think that it's going to be a case of where they're going to change it. They're going to the administration is going to change it. Then they're going to realize that it might have backfired on them and might not have been the best improvement for that. And then maybe not. They might leave it, but I think that they might have to change it back. And then it's going to be a question of why would you even change it in the first place? I mean, just leave it as it is. I mean, I think people are used to it. People are aware of it, and I think that it should stay. Especially with the announcements. I mean, they have the voiceover actors and the iconic voices that you hear around the Czech Republic with the announcing of the trains coming and going. And to be honest, the jingles are not very long. That the argument is that they want to keep the they want to get away from musical and jingles into more visual concepts of seeing when the trains are arriving and departing and so on. But I think that the jingles are very unique, and I think they should stay. And in other news around coming from the Czech Republic, if you've ever traveled to the Czech Republic, some of the main tourist attractions, especially in Prague, are the Prague Castle, and of course you see pictures of it everywhere, the Charles Bridge. Now, the Charles Bridge has stood the test of time through wars, through weathering, changing statues, replacing statues, and so on. And this is coming from the website Expat CZ, and they're announcing that once again, the Charles Bridge has been vandalized on Sunday of this year. For those of you who are not aware, last year, I think in the summer, Charles Bridge was vandalized with graffiti by two Germans that came for a holiday or for a rock concert, and they defaced and vandalized the Charles Bridge. Today, coming from the website Expat CZ, they're reporting that it has been vandalized once again, and with the graffiti that says Krakow plus Moscow equals Prague. March 8th, 2020 is written on an underpass on the Charles Bridge. I don't know what that means. I think that's just a lame excuse or a lame graffiti to deface the Charles Bridge with. I think that kind of graffiti is pointless. It has no artistic value. It has no meaning behind it. Maybe it's somebody's attempt to make some kind of political statement on the Charles Bridge because the Charles Bridge is so iconic. But I mean, if I'm looking at it, I'm walking by it, and I see this on the Charles Bridge, I said, just leave the bridge alone. The bridge doesn't deserve somebody's ill attempt at making some kind of statement or some kind of protest against something that isn't very clear, is very vague. And I think it's just vandalism. I think it's pure vandalism. I think that it should be investigated, and I think the people should have to pay some, either a fine, or in the case of the if I was correct, the case of the Germans who were involved in the vandalism last year, I think they were deported and they can't return back to Prague for 5 to 10 years or something like that. 5 years, it says here. It's written. The two German tourists in Prague to see a rock concert were caught in the act, and they had to pay. They had suspended fines and were expelled from the Czech Republic for 5 years. Coming from expat says that. So I think this is just a silly act. I think there was no need for any defacement of the Charles Bridge. There's plenty other ways to get your message out, especially when we're living in a time of social media. You can post all kinds of political statements on the numerous amount of social media that we have, especially Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Post whatever political grievances you may have on those social networks, but something as iconic, which is one of the, if not one of the biggest national landmarks in the Czech Republic. I think that the Charles Bridge needs to be protected. I think it needs to be saved and preserved for many years to come, or many centuries to come, because it's such an iconic place in the Czech Republic. I mean, it's romantic. You walk across the river, the Vltava River, the main river in Prague. It's great. You see all the statues on either side, and it's a nice stroll, except in the summer months. If you're in the summer, it's packed with tourists, but even then, you still get this kind of romantic, poetic feeling as you walk across the bridge and onto the other side into the lesser quarter or onto Campo Island. You get a nice view of Prague on both sides, and it's really nice. So I think that Charles Bridge needs its love and it needs to be protected. I think that for today, that was just something I had to get off my chest today. We'll be back with our regular scheduled guests on this Wednesday, in the afternoon around this time. If you're interested, look back or come back and watch or enjoy one of our shows. We stream live. We talk about different issues, and I think the topic of Wednesday night, we will see, but we'll get back to our regular programming. We've been off for about a month with some different scheduling issues, and so come back, check us out, check the First Division podcast out. It streams live on YouTube, and for all of you that are listening, please have a good evening, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, peace.